it is 7 p.m. now, so I will call meeting to order. First item is roll call, all members present. Next is the adoption of the evening's agenda. May I have a mover? Seconder? Commissioner Macer and Commissioner Anderson. Any questions or comments to the agenda? Okay. Next is the minutes of March 16th.
Call for the vote.
Oh, sorry, call for the vote. All in favor? Okay. Next is the minutes of March 16th, Planning Commission. Can I get a mover? Commissioner Anderson. Seconder? Commissioner Macer. I will call on the vote on the matter. Okay, and now is the time for the public hearing, and I will briefly read out the following for those in attendance. For all the members, during the meeting, we ask you to turn off your cell phones, as well as maintain order and quiet during the proceedings and not interrupt any persons or member of the commissions. And when you come to the podium to discuss, you will address through the chair and avoid any what's the word I'm looking for? Debates with particular commissioners. So we will hear from the administration on the conditional use 1307 18th Street North.
Thank you and a good evening, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. So yes, we are dealing with a conditional use application first tonight at 1307 18th Street North. There it is. Thank you. So this site is located in the north part of the city in the North Hill area. Zooming in more closely, it is northeast of the intersection of 18th Street North and Braycrest Drive in a commercial arterial zone. So it's wedged between Braycrest and Mockingbird on the east side of 18th Street North. This is a photo showing this site, which used to house Patmore Nurseries, looking from basically from the service road towards the center of the site. And this is a shot from Mockingbird Drive on the north side, looking to the back side of this site. And our focus, though, is on the front side, actually, facing 18th Street North. The request tonight is to allow for a warehouse in the commercial arterial zone. And there is a concurrent application to subdivide the land, but that particular application is being addressed directly by council later this month. Yes, later this month. So early next month, my mistake. This is the site plan that's been brought forward by the applicant. So they are proposing the warehouse to be in the northwest part of this site where one of the proposed lots will be located. The remainder of the lands are to be left for future development at this time. Just zooming in more closely, you'll see that they are proposing a parking area in front of the site, just off the service road, and the building will take up basically most of the northeast chunk of this property. This is a contextual rendering of the warehouse the applicant has submitted to show how the building could look like if it were to be developed. In terms of our analysis, the site is adjacent to nearby properties, commercial properties of similar size. The use is expected to generate some traffic, and the traffic types are consistent with surrounding businesses as well as what had occurred in the past with this site. The location of this warehouse is adequately set back from nearby low-density residential areas, and access to the site will be from the existing service road and therefore should not impact Mockingbird Drive. The existing commercial arterial zone complies with the development plan's commercial regional retail designation, and even without the subdivision that was brought forward or will be brought forward to council, the site is already in a pre-existing situation in that it's not big enough for regional retail in any case. All things considered, this proposal conforms with the zoning bylaw, including setbacks and parking requirements. We did receive some comments here. Westman Communications Group is advising that there is a pedestal located on the southwest corner of the site and may be connected to a drop to the existing building that may interfere with construction. So The WCG is just requesting the developer be in contact with them prior to construction to ensure that there is a new drop installed so that there is no interference with the construction and no interruption in Westman's services. As of closing today, we did not receive any written submissions, either for or against this application. So with that, Madam Chair, back to you for any questions.
All right, I will open this up to the board members. Should you have any questions? No?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will ask the applicant to come up to the podium, state your name.
Good evening. I'm Kate McKenzie with Keller Developments and Myria Design. Honestly, Andrew kind of just explained everything I was going to say. We have developed this warehouse plan for Kohlbergs. I'm not sure if you guys saw from the render. Their warehouse was expropriated for the new bridge that's being built, and we are in a hurry to try and get this up and built for them so that they can move from their temporary location into this location. As Andrew did mention, we felt that what the pre-existing Patmore site had similar traffic flow as what we're going to do, similar parking, everything like that, so we didn't feel like there would be a big change to the area.
Commissioner.
Through the chair to the presenter, I noticed from the rendering that it's not only the Kohlbergs, but at the north end, it appeared as though the little shop, there was a sign for the little shop as well. Is that where it will be moving to, or is that suggested?
I believe their intent is to do that. It's currently the same as it is now, where their Kohlbergs has the little shop right beside it. There, it's mostly storage, but it will be like you can walk in and purchase things, I believe. Yes, please, Ashley. You know more about it.
Kohlberg's clearance center was located in the former warehouse space that was expropriated. So in their negotiations with the province to compensate them for expropriating the building, they have received to have the clearance, which runs about once a month, at this location. Honestly, that doesn't mean down the road they couldn't move, but not to be confused with the little shop is in the Kohlberg store space, which is not the warehouse space. The warehouse is temporarily somewhere else in Brandon, but the warehouse is what was expropriated, and obviously not the store. There's been a lot of, not that you guys would be confused, but there's been a lot of confusion when the warehouse was taken. That wasn't the store, it was the warehouse, but in that warehouse space was a small area that was used for little shop clearance. That's what this represents.
Okay.
But there couldn't, 10 years, 5 years, there could be where the little shop goes to, but its purpose now would be for the clearance section.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comment? Now I will call upon anyone here to speak in favor of the application. Okay, anyone in opposition? Or anyone who needs additional information? Okay. Administration, any additional? Nothing? No. So I will call for the motion to close the public hearing. Commissioner.
I move that the public hearing for conditional use application C-02-22 at 1307 18th Street be concluded.
Seconder, Commissioner Anderson.
Just a question perhaps to administration. Should the address be noted as 18th Street North?
Yes.
Yes, you are
Okay,
correct.
that's fine. Just, I guess to say that it seems very compatible with the area. It's a somewhat commercial use in a commercial area, and I think it would be a good fit. It'll be nice to see some more development in that area, and it'll improve the site.
Any additional comments?
Are we on 1 or 2?
We're just on closing the public hearing,
Oh, yeah.
so you don't really need comments.
Oh,
on
yeah,
that.
okay, sorry.
You can just vote.
Vote to
sorry.
close.
Oh,
Yeah, all those in favor?
All those in favor?
And then it's all those opposed, but everybody raised their hand, so it's good.
So I will call for the motion, the motion.
Conditional use application C-02-22 to allow for a warehouse in the commercial arterial zone be approved at 1307 18th Street North in accordance with the attached letter of intent, attachment A, site plan, attachment B4, the elevation, and attachment B5.
And a seconder? Commissioner Anderson?
And I was a little quick on the last one, but the same principle applies. It fits with the areas, for sure.
through the chair, I do remember when we had the conditional for use of warehouse out at Kmart and the plan was to build a warehouse then. So I think this is a great location. It's used to trucks being up on that road anyways with PV Mart, Dufresne's, whatever going through there. So the building looks great. So I think it's a plus. I'm in favor.
Any other comments?
I have nothing further to add.
Okay. And I am in agreement that this would work for the area, so I will call for a vote to the motion in favor of.
You've gotten your conditional use, so if you want to stay, you can. If you want to leave, it's up to you. Just so that you're aware, this is the last one we'll have live stream. It'll be back to the way we were before COVID, depending on how COVID works out, where you don't have to register, it'll just be open to the public.
That's fine. I forgot about that. All right, so now we will have the administration talk about variance application 240 18th Street.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. So yes, a variance application at 240 18th Street. So the site in question is Brandon University, which most of us should be familiar with. It is located west of downtown, generally in the central part of the city. Zooming in more closely, we are looking at specifically more of the southwest part of the campus area. So closer to the northeast corner of Louise Avenue and 20th Street. So the building specifically in question is the one that is in the red dashed line within the greater yellow box, which is 240 18th Street. So this is a view of the building in question where this use is being proposed. It is proposed to be built on the rooftop of the main cafeteria, basically, of the university. And this is a view of the same area again, but just looking, you can see the cafeteria is to the left, library building is to our right. So for this request, we are dealing with a variance to allow for a temporary use of hosting beehives, up to a maximum of 4 of them, on the rooftop of Harvest Hall in the educational and institutional zone. So as I mentioned, with the earlier map, they are proposing to be on the rooftop of Harvest Hall, which is in the southwest part of the campus. Unfortunately, just with the scaling, it's not easily visible, but you can see 20th Street over here, Louise Avenue here, and then we have some of the residence buildings flanking to the west and south sides, and some academic buildings to the east and north. And this is the parking lot area here, just north of Harvest Hall. In our analysis, we see that this area consists of The immediate area is all part of the university campus, but surrounding it, it consists of predominantly residential and commercial. Beehives will be located on the rooftop of Harvest Hall, which is located in the central campus hub in the Brandon University's master plan, which is considered to be a center of student activity. The request does not affect the primary land use or functions, as it is small scale in nature and can be considered an auxiliary use on campus. They are only proposing a maximum of 4 beehives, and they are set back sufficiently away from property lines, and since they are up at least significantly higher from street level. The applicant is conducting a pilot project and is only seeking temporary approval of beehives through this variance, which is the minimum modification of the zoning bylaw to relieve its injurious effect on this property. Beekeeping as a land use is not listed in the zoning bylaw, but the proposal is consistent with the Brandon University's master plan and a strategic plan that aims to enhance their campus. Under Clause 97(2)A of the Planning Act, the Planning Commission has the ability to consider temporary land uses by way of a variance, which is why we're dealing with this tonight. We did not receive any significant concerns. That said, though, in light of the nature of the request, we are recommending a couple of conditions to go with this variance, should it be approved. One is that this be valid for a maximum of 5 years from the date of approval. This is consistent with the Planning Act in terms of allowing temporary land uses. And the second condition is that the owner or successor, prior to establishing the beekeeping use, provide our department with written confirmation that the apiarist is certified by the province. And the applicant did reach out to nearby property owners for comments in February and did door-to-door connections that month as well as in March. And as of closing today, we did not receive any written submissions either for or against this application. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions from the Commission? Yes, sir.
Through the chair to Mr. Mock, at the end of that 5 years, what then?
Through the chair to Commissioner Masher, there are different scenarios that could occur. One is that the order simply lapses and that is no longer allowed after 5 years. Another, based on how the Planning Act is worded, they can apply for another variance if they so wish. But then the analysis is done anew, right? We would have to review it based on the new circumstances of the time. Also, the city is currently working on a new city plan, which is a high-level policy document for the entire city, depending on what policies that may come out of that. If, for example, one of the policies is to promote things like urban agriculture, then there is a possibility that the city may revisit the zoning bylaw and make amendments to make certain accommodations, if that is the direction that we are to take. But I must say that I am speaking ahead because we are still in the early stages of the city plan project. We are not clear as to what the exact policy directions are at this time. We're still in the public engagement and information gathering stages.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
I will now call upon the applicant to come speak on their application.
Hi, my name is Deanna Smid, and I hope to be providing some context and some further information about this proposal, why we are hoping to do this, and some of the concerns that were raised to us, and some of the ways that we can mitigate those concerns. So I'm speaking on behalf of myself and a number of people at Brandon University who are highly interested in bees, in the plight of both honeybees and native pollinators, and this project has been in the works for quite some time. So a number of faculty members and staff members at Brandon University wanted to do something. And the general consensus was, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could get some beehives at Brandon University for a number of reasons. We're hoping to have only a limited number of hives. We don't want to go higher than 4 hives at any point. This summer, if the variance is approved, we hope to start with 2 hives. Right, so we're going to treat this summer as well as an even smaller pilot project of the 5-year project. So we'll start with 2 hives. The hives are going to be hosted at the university. We're not keeping them there over the winter. So they will be brought in to the site in May, placed on the roof of Harvest Hall, and then removed towards the end of August after the honey has been harvested. And they will be removed back to their apiary, where they can be sheltered and where the bees can be overwintered. We will also be working with a registered apiarist, someone with a lot of experience. And that beekeeper is also here this evening, so if you have questions about beekeeping itself, please ask him. I am not a beekeeper. I read a lot about bees, but the nitty-gritty is actually quite beyond me. So why did we want to do this at Brandon University? One of the major reasons is, of course, how important bees and honeybees are. I think everyone is well aware of colony collapse disorder, where bees were dying kind of inexplicably in large numbers. This spring has actually been quite sobering for most beekeepers in Manitoba and in large parts of Canada. You may have seen in the CBC and on CTV News that some beekeepers have lost up to 90% of their honeybees this winter. And it's actually quite a catastrophic situation. So we are hoping that having hives on the university will keep bees, both honeybees and native pollinators, in the forefront of people's minds. And it also brings an opportunity for people at the university, both students and faculty, to do some research. Right, the students, if they're doing an honors program in science, they often do their own research projects. And having hives may be a way of just putting that spark in someone's mind, right? Maybe we should look into what's happening with the honeybees. Of course, honeybees are essential for pollination and also for biodiversity, right? So as honeybees increase the health of plants, those plants then provide shelter and food for other animals. This is specifically or quite important at Brandon University since we have a fair number of vegetable gardens at the university. So these honeybees will help pollinate those crops as well. Those vegetables go to the food bank, the students' food bank, and at least 50% of our honey will be going to that food bank as well. So we see the bees at the university contributing to food security and sustainability as well. We're also hoping that the hives will increase awareness and education. The public will not be able to access the hives. That's specifically why they will be on a rooftop. They cannot be reached by anyone passing by. It's actually fairly difficult to get up there, and we've chosen that location on purpose to protect the hives from tampering or just from curiosity. However, that location on Harvest Hall, I don't know if you could see from the 2 photos. If you go to the 2nd floor of the library, there's a huge bank of windows, and they look directly onto the roof of Harvest Hall. We're hoping to have signage in those windows so that people can have an understanding of what they're looking at. So the hives will be highly visible and yet protected. Right? Both the bees will be protected and also community members. Okay. I've noticed already a lot of interest and awareness simply from our community engagement. We went door to door to everyone who lives around the university, and all of the comments that I received in person and later by email, phone call, even some instant messages, incredible amount of support. And a number of people asked, what can I do to help? And can I also, is there an opportunity to volunteer to help the beekeeper? Right, so already I think I could see that interest from the neighboring community. We also recognize that there are potential concerns. So I want to address a few of those as well here this evening. One potential concern, will the honeybees find enough food and water in Brandon? And I think I can say with quite some certainty, yes. For one, we are going to put a catch basin for water on the roof of Harvest Hall, so the bees will have a water source very close to the hive, and we will make sure that there is water up there. There are also a fairly incredible amount of private gardens in Brandon. I think Brandonites really love gardening. And research has shown, research coming out from Dalhousie University, that during COVID, people have been increasing their vegetable gardening in great numbers. We also have flower gardens and vegetable gardens at BU, and our little bee committee is going to be petitioning the university to particularly plant pollinator-friendly plants. Another potential concern, will the bees be aggressive? They shouldn't be, right? And that roof location is key. Right? Bees are aggressive if they feel that the hive is threatened or if they feel that their queen is threatened, because no one kind of unauthorized, no one other than the beekeeper or someone helping the beekeeper, no one can reach the hives. The fear of aggression in the bees should be mitigated. Another potential concern, will the bees swarm? Right, so when bees leave their hive en masse, when they're looking for a new home, then they create those big clumps of bees that you sometimes see in the news. Swarms are usually incredibly gentle and can be relocated by a beekeeper. Also, if the bees are managed well, and I have no doubt that they will be since we're working with people with a lot of experience, swarms can be mitigated. Another potential concern that is specific, I'm so sorry, this is a medical device that is beeping at me and I cannot turn it off. So please pardon me for that. In Brandon, of course, we sometimes have mosquito fogging. So one potential concern that our city might have is, are the bees going to be harmed by that fogging? They shouldn't be, because fogging occurs after 10 p.m. And at that point, most of the bees, or all of the bees, should be safely in their hive where they will be protected from the effects of fogging. Now, another potential concern, and this is one that came out in our community engagement, what about allergic reactions? There are people who are severely allergic to stings, and we recognize that and are now quite sympathetic. There is some experience here that I can share. There's a group in Winnipeg called Bee Project Apiaries, and they do something very similar to what we're proposing. They bring their hives into the city of Winnipeg, put them on rooftops, and take them away at the end of the season. On their website, they talk about this concern, the fear of allergic reactions, and they explain in their experience that where they've placed their hives, when they talk to the people in that area, they don't even notice that there are honeybees in their area. There are a lot of bees in Brandon already. I'm very happy to say that. So even though these hives will bring in a significant number of honeybees, the concentration of bees in one area will not rise so much that people even notice. At least that's the experience of Bee Project Apiaries, and they have been doing this sort of project for years. We also want to just emphasize the difference between honeybees and wasps. Wasps will sting you for fun, they will sting you repeatedly, and they're also attracted to food. Right, so those are the insects that are going to be buzzing around your picnic, around your barbecue, in your backyard. They're the ones that will sting you repeatedly and then fly away, probably laughing. Honeybees do not usually do that unless they are severely threatened. When a honeybee stings you, it will die. Right? So a honeybee is not going to sting you unless it really feels the necessity. They also are not attracted to food and drink in the same way that wasps are. And we also note that the best way to keep a honeybee out of your yard is not to try to remove bees from the city, but make sure that there is no open water in your yard that a bee might need, although we'll be sure that there's a water source for the bees close to their hive, and also to avoid plants that bees enjoy, like flowers and flowering trees. Another potential concern is the impact of honeybees on native pollinators. There is the possibility that honeybees can outcompete native pollinators for food sources, and that they can also spread disease to native pollinators. And there has been a significant amount of research done in this area, although all of these research papers and research projects note that much more research needs to be done on this. The other potential problem between honeybees and native pollinators is that honeybees get all the attention. Right? When we talk about saving bees, often we think about saving honeybees, but native pollinators need equal, if not more, attention when we're thinking about saving bees. I think, though, that attention on honeybees is both good and bad. It's bad if we forget about native pollinators, but it's good in the sense that what's good for a honeybee is usually quite good for a native pollinator as well. So if people are trying to save bees by planting more flowers, that is going to help honeybees and native pollinators. Native pollinators also have more possibilities in front of them. They can obtain food, nectar, pollen from more plants than honeybees can. So we are hoping that when people know that there are hives in the city, when they can see those hives, that the awareness of honeybees and the interest in both honeybees and native pollinators will do nothing but increase. I knew that I would go on and on. I'm pretty excited about this topic, but I think that I should probably end there if there are any questions. Thank you so much.
So any questions for the applicant?
One through the chair to the applicant. You touched on the bee stings or the incident of bee stings in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. I noticed from your application that there are numerous other cities that have allowed bees to be kept in the city limits. Are there any statistics that you're aware of whether there were increased bee stings in those areas or not?
Yeah, I did a quick search and didn't see anything overly definitive. But the general consensus is people often don't notice a huge increase in bees or in bee stings. But specific numbers, I'm afraid I don't have those.
That's fine, no problem. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No. Okay, you can take a seat.
Thank you.
I will call upon anyone who wishes to speak in favor of. If you wish to speak, stand up to the podium.
Hi, we, Marty Snelling and Elaine Snelling, we live about a block from Clark Hall, 17th and Lorne, and the information came out February 18th on this, and I thought it was very well written and explains the situation very clearly, and that I think there's very minimal risk to anybody who's gardening and has kids in the yard and so on and so forth. And I think with some of the information that says that the plight of the declining honeybee has become a national and international crisis. We live in a community that's built on agriculture, and bees are important to us. This is being led by Brandon University, and it's connecting the university world to us as residents. So we're very much in favor of it, and really like the idea of the university getting outside the walls of the university into the community, and this is a project that's going to allow that to happen. And they've been very open about it, and the information's been there in our neighborhood since February the 18th, so we're in favor of it.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're willing.
Hello, my name is Mike. I've been in bees. My family has been in bees a little over 100 years. I'll be working with Deanna on this project. For interest for you guys and for Brandon, the Keystone State, or like more so around this area, is the highest concentration of commercial beekeepers in all of Manitoba. Out of Winnipeg, which is more of a smaller beekeeping area, the larger operations surround Brandon. And I've talked that the university is also a relatively good center for testing sites if it is developed with this project. Instead of us having to send our samples to Winnipeg, to there, as well as to Alberta, because a lot of the research is also done in Alberta, Brandon could also become a hub for us to do our testing. And if you have any questions, I'm here as well. I could also mention a few things on the risk of getting stung by a bee. So the hives on a roof, risk is minimal. When bees fly, they fly in a line. So if the hive was located on the ground, the flight of the bees would be more localized, but as it being on a rooftop, no one should even notice that there are bees there. If you think of anything else, I'll try and answer them for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will call upon anyone who wishes to speak in opposition.
First of all, I'm Barb Strutt, and I'm one of the ones. I need to clarify a few things to start with Deanna. There were 17 people that I know phoned her and opposed it, and she told them that she would bring it up, and she has not mentioned anything about any opposing it. First of all, they did not go door to door talking to people that things were dropped off in the mailboxes. Maybe they did on the other streets, but my daughter lives on 21st Street, and that's all of us bought. And I'm not opposed to honeybees. I'm opposed to where it's going to be. There's a daycare, which is just opposite from where the university is. There's a K-8 school, Earl Oxford. I talked to the principal of the school. I talked to the daycare. There were kids there that are deadly allergic to bees. An EpiPen is $106 to use. You can't use it more than once. And it is not a good place to have it where there's that many kids around. And I'm sorry, but the bees do not come out one or two at a time. They come out in swarms. She didn't tell you how many's in a hive. There are 20 to 40 in 2 hives that are going to be swarming around where kids are. And if you're a kid, and if you ever got bitten once and had to go to emergency, all you need to see is a bee, and that puts you off. It's not a good place. I'm not opposed to honeybees. I'm not. I'm just opposed to where it is. It's not a good fit to be. And if they get swarming, they're going to go to Earl Oxford School. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the daycare that's just beside them? Does anybody care about that? I know she's talked about things because I talked to her different times about it, and she knows exactly how I feel. And I kind of feel betrayed right now because I know, like I said, I know people have called her, and she said she would bring the concerns, and she hasn't mentioned one thing about anybody opposing it, not once. And I know they did because we had meetings, and I know they called. She was supposed to bring it up that they opposed it, and she never brought it up once. And that's what I'm concerned about as kids. I mean, I don't care if there was no kids around, if there was no daycare around or no school. I talked to some of the parents at Earl Oxford School, and they are not for this at all. And they were told, they called, some of them have called her. I know you're looking at me, Deanna, because I talked to you.
Stay with...
And she promised that she would bring it up, and she hasn't brought up anything about people calling her or anything. And that's a betrayal to people's trust, I think. And I know some of the kids at Earl Oxford, people at Earl Oxford School, because I talked to some of the parents, and they do not want this, and neither do they want them at the daycare center. So I don't know if any of you people have people that are allergic to bees, and if you kind of know what it's like, it's not fun. And that's about all I got to say, so I hope you're considering the fact. In fact, the guy from, I forget his name, was supposed to be here for the Brandon Sun tonight, but he's going to call me tomorrow at 11:30, and I'm going to give him what, he wants to know what kind of went on here tonight. He's going to put a thing in the paper, because I think more people need to know what's going on. And that's about all I got to say. Okay, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
Through the chair to the city, was it not brought up that there was no comments made in reference to this?
To clarify, we did not receive any written submissions in favor or against as of closing today. So when I say that, is when we send notices of the public hearing,
Yeah.
if people cannot attend the public hearing, they have the option of providing us something in writing instead of attending in person. So we did not receive any correspondence from that. We understand that there was at least one person who was going to come to object, and we do thank the person for coming and speaking her piece. But that's what the city means when we did not receive anything for or against is within the legally mandated notice period. We did not receive any correspondence from anyone who could not attend the public hearing.
Good. Thank you, Andrew.
Through the chair to Mr. Mock, just for a point of clarification, when you send out these notifications, it is a 100-meter radius?
That is correct, 100 meters, or for those who go by Imperial, 328 feet from that yellow block that we saw on the map earlier. So basically bound by Princess, 18th, Louise, and 20th.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed. What would the southern extremity be?
Louise Avenue. So between...
That would be where it would start. Where would the 100 meters go from there, though?
Give me a moment. I have the map here. I can quickly measure that out. Nope. I want... That'll be about 2/3 of the way down from the north side of Louise Avenue towards the intersection of 18th and Victoria. That is 100 meters or 328 feet.
Okay, so it would not get to Earl Oxford School then?
That is correct.
However, on the west side, that would take in a distance that would include the daycare at 20th and Lorne?
At 21st and Lorne, that is correct. That is within the 100-meter radius. So,
okay.
Yes, it is within that range. Through the chair to Commissioner Masher.
So I guess what I'm really trying to get at is that there was an opportunity for the daycare to oppose this if they so chose.
Yes, they had official means
yes.
to inform us.
Okay,
yes.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Through the chair. Plus, the people going to the daycare would have been notified of that, and they could have responded also. Could they not have?
Through the chair to Commissioner Anderson, we can only effectively inform property owners.
Yeah.
And then if the property owners, for example, it's up to them to choose whether or not they notify, for example, their tenants. But we know that method alone is not sufficient in reaching out to as many people as possible, which is why we also require applicants to post notices of the public hearing
Yes.
on the property.
Yes.
So that's why some people may have noticed some yellow posters, which is what we require applicants to put up on their properties as well.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments? All right, I will call motion to close the public hearing portion.
I can do that.
Commissioner Anderson?
That the public hearing for variance application V-05-22 at 240 18th Street be concluded.
The seconder? Commissioner Meister? All in favor of closing the agenda? Public hearing? All right.
I'll do the second part.
Okay.
That variance application V-05-22 to vary table 17 under section 64 of the zoning bylaw to allow an urban beekeeping use in the educational and institutional zone be approved at 240 18th Street in accordance with the attachment letter of intent, attachment A1, and the attachment site plan, attachment B3, subject to the two conditions, this order being valid for up to 5 years from the date of approval, and number 2, the owner or successor prior to establishing the beekeeping use, providing the planning and buildings department written confirmation that their apiarist is certified by the province of Manitoba.
Do I have a seconder? Commissioner Johnson? And you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I will. I do think this is a good program. Our bees are in danger, and we do need the bees to continue with agriculture, farming, pollinating honey, and I do respect the lady for coming forward with her concerns. But the other people in the area did receive letters, and it was up to them to voice their concerns. So, and she can't speak for them. She can only speak for herself. So, I am in favor of this.
Do we have a seconder? Commissioner Johnson?
That he's going to speak?
Oh, speak, sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I agree with everything Commissioner Anderson said there. I see the risk being fairly low to the area. Especially the immediate area around it is BU itself. Beyond that, as you get out to the residential area, I see the risk getting less and less, so I have no concerns. I think it's a good thing. We all need it. I'm going to support it.
Any other comments?
I'm in support of it also. Much the same thought process as the other commissioners. Being fairly familiar with the area, I know that the bees are usually only looking for food source. There's very little of that, if any, at the daycare. And as for the school, there's not a lot of pollination around there to be done, so I would think that they may be passing through, but I don't think they're stopping there a whole bunch, that's for sure.
And I'm also in agreement. From what I've heard from applicant and their specialist, the risk seems relatively low, although there is concern, especially with children. But I think the risks are pretty mitigated at this point. So I will call for the vote for the motion. All in favor? Great. And
Great, so, yep, the variance is approved. You may leave now. For the one person who objected, again, thank you for coming out. Just so everyone is aware, we will send out a copy of this order to everyone who spoke at this hearing tonight. There is a 2-week period. If someone still does not like the decision, they do have the right to appeal the council. If there is an appeal received, then council will hold a new hearing, and their decision will be final. Right?